Thanks everyone for joining us. Now it's time for our first Digital Sales Fireside with Godard Abel and the question, how digital will transform manufacturing forever. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to our Digital Sales Fireside chat. My name is Falk and I'm happy to host you today. My guest speaker today is Godard Abel. Godard is CEO of G2, the world-leading B2B review platform for software, and Executive Chairman of Threekit, a 3D visual selling platform, which we also leverage in our product. He was also founder of two famous companies, namely Big Machines and Steelbrick, both of which have been acquired by leading tech companies. Those companies served mainly manufacturing. So, Godard, you are an expert not only in B2B software, but also for the needs of manufacturers. Welcome today.
No, thank you for having me here, Falk. Nice to be with you.
So, Godard, why do you believe manufacturers need to go into digital in today's market?
Sure, digital I think is a huge trend, and I've been in manufacturing really my whole life. I grew up, my father ran a German pump manufacturing company. So even in the summer, I remember sometimes working in his plant. So I've been manufacturing my whole life. And I think digital now is really changing all aspects of it. Certainly, I've always been on the sales side. And I think digital, especially selling products online, I think is becoming more and more the trend. And it's only been accelerated by COVID. I think the pandemic now, over the past year, it's made it really hard for manufacturers or their distributors to visit their customers. And so I think that's even accelerated, I think what was already the trend. I know in MindCloud, you all are a big part of it, enabling manufacturers to sell and serve their customers online. So I think it's really changing the front end, but not only the front end. I think most manufacturers now have global supply chains. They're sourcing their components from all over the world. And so to communicate with their suppliers in real time, they also really need digital. And so I think it's really just changing every aspect of our industry.
Would you say it's also that they're also changing business models in today's world, which have an impact on digital or the need for digital?
I think so, and certainly I think a great example is Tesla. Where obviously it's a car manufacturer. And I think not only did this disrupt the engines, going with electric vehicles, obviously making the world greener, but I think they also changed the whole distribution channel with digital. And at least in the US, every other car manufacturer sells their products still through dealers, local dealers that buy and resell the cars. And I think Tesla, like I said, not only invented electric vehicles, but they really have no dealers. Almost all their cars are bought online. And they have a few showrooms where maybe you can look at the car, but they've really done it all now with amazing online configuration, online visualization of their vehicles. And I think that's been a big part of the disruption they're driving, because it does allow them to be much closer to their customer, because you buy directly from Tesla. So they also can have a much more intimate relationship with you. They can service the car better. And we do have a Tesla Model X, great car. And we actually got it a few years ago when it was first available. And we're happy it makes the planet greener, but we're also happy that now when we need service, you can just submit it online. Oftentimes it'll actually come to your house because there's no dealer to go to. And I think that's just one great example of a manufacturer disrupting a whole industry, also with a very digital sales process that totally changed the sales and distribution channel.
That's an interesting point. So I think you described the change and also in customer experience and how people consume and the products. So what would you say are the differences to more traditional models? Where should more traditional manufacturer invest in today's environment, and why are they struggling to find the right digital solutions for their business?
Well, and I think I have been in digital software now over 20 years. And frankly, traditionally, I think it's been too hard oftentimes to implement the software. And, I think everyone has digital visions. And I think people naturally see how they can better serve their customers, their distributors, their manufacturing reps around the world. especially by enabling it to make it easier to shop, configure, customize the products online. But the reality is it's actually really hard to implement those projects. And I remember my first company, Big Machines, and we called it Big Machines because we wanted to help manufacturers like my father's that sold big machines sell them online. And frankly, we also way underestimated the task, because I remember, I think, we thought we'd be able to, within 1 year have the software ready. Really, it took multiple years. And I think I remember in the early days, most manufacturers, these projects would oftentimes take over a year, and it would take significant investment from their people with the software vendors. And I think, that's traditionally been a challenge. It maybe took too long to get a quick payback. And so I think that's been one challenge. But I will say modern cloud is obviously making it much easier. My last company, Steelbrick, we were acquired by Salesforce, and obviously they did that in traditional CRM, customer relationship management, where they moved it all online, made it much easier to deploy than the older systems from Siebel and the original CRM systems. And I think now the same thing is happening. I think in Mind Cloud, you're driving that, really enabling integrated CPQ, channel sales all online out of one package. And so I think it's getting easier and faster now to implement. And I think that really, to me, has probably been more the blocker than people not seeing the vision of the potential of the technology.
Maybe you want to also say something about G2. Finding the right software is certainly also a problem.
True. And that is actually why we started G2, because my first company, Big Machines, we were selling software to manufacturers around the world. But frankly, we saw they had a really hard time discovering us. One of our early customers was Rolls-Royce, not the car Rolls-Royce, but their big turbine business in the United States. And I remember, this was maybe 2009. And I remember they finally found us somehow via Google search. But I remember what they told us. They're like, wow, we wish we'd found you 3 years ago, because we've been trying to build a software in-house. And so I think traditionally it has been hard for also manufacturers to find the right software for their business. And that was really our vision for G2. We wanted to make it more shopping for business software, more like shopping on Amazon or on TripAdvisor, where you really easily can discover the right software for your manufacturing business. And then also you can easily evaluate it. And I think that was really our inspiration in the consumer world when we shop on Amazon. I think we all look at reviews to help us make faster buying decisions. And we thought that was missing in our industry of business software. And so that was our inspiration for starting G2.
Are there some similarities to what you experienced with in your past, right? When Rolls-Royce was shopping for software, to maybe how a manufacturing customer today would look for spare parts? Is that similar?
Yeah, I think so. I think the reality is, without a good online system to help you find your parts, right, it can be very cumbersome. And I remember that actually my father's business, as I mentioned, small pump company, but they still had all the file drawers with drawings, at the factory. That was in Büchen in Germany, somewhere east of Hamburg. And literally that was the only place in the world the information was. So the customer would either fax or call an inquiry from anywhere in the world, and somebody would have to go look in the file system and figure out, oh, this membrane blew out on my pump. Which part number do you need? And I think obviously as German business, they were good at keeping all their paper files, right? The records were perfect. But it was, the customer couldn't access them, right, without calling the factory or going through manufacturer's rep. And so I think that's frustrating for the customer. If you have a critical outage, right, it might take a couple of days until the manufacturer would get back to you. And also for the manufacturer, it was cumbersome, right, because you had to have highly qualified technical workers manually looking through papers, trying to figure out the right part. And I do think that now it's starting to happen, right? You make it all available online. And I think the other technology that we also believe is very transformational is now 3D visualization. And I'm also involved in the company Threekit. I think we're also doing some partnering with you, but whether it's Threekit or another 3D technology, now you can not only have the bill of material online and let's say reference drawings, explosion drawings online, but you can even have an interactive 3D experience where you can see your pump in 3D, maybe in a virtual sense, remove the cover, and then you'll see what membrane you need, and you can embed digital hotspots. And so now, in real time, you can immediately online find the part, and with a couple of clicks, be able to order the right part. And then I think it doesn't end there, so the order can now flow digitally into the ERP, into the fulfillment system. And I think if you also have a very digital supply chain, maybe it goes right to a third-party manufacturer or distributor that's near the customer and can ship it in real time. And so I think those are the exciting potential that I know you're also helping manufacturers realize. And I think not everyone's there yet. And I think one even very cool trend, there's also a startup in the US, even adding 3D manufacturing or 3D printing to that, and I think they've partnered with a distribution center in Memphis. I think it's right by FedEx. But so you can digitally order the part, but then rather than having to have a massive inventory, they can use 3D printing or 3D manufacturing technology, CNC, but however you make the part, you also make it in real time right next to the FedEx, and then it shows up any factory, at least in North America, within hours. And I think that's really, the end-to-end digital potential, even in terms of how you build the product, in real time based on a digital file.
So you mentioned a lot of, I think, exciting trends and how things should become, right? What do you think are the values or the KPIs that manufacturers can improve?
Well, one, I think, like we were just talking about spare parts, but certainly I think also cycle time on the front end. How long does it take from the time the customer knows a part until they actually receive that part that they need and have it installed in their machine? And that would be kind of an end-to-end. And I think obviously then you can break down your cycle time, really throughout the whole process, right? You can look at your inquiry to order. How long does it take from initial customer inquiry to convert that into an accurate order? But then also, how long does it take to then fulfill that order, ship that order? And so I think really looking at how you can compress your cycle times. And I think most companies also have lean manufacturing, which means most manufacturers have less inventory, but also means their customers have less inventory. And so I think they're really expecting that speed, right? Both speed and accuracy. And I think the third in manufacturing, right, is there's always speed, there's quality, and then there's cost. And I do think digital done right helps you in all three dimensions, because as we talked about the spare parts ordering, right, if you have the 3D, the customer can see for themselves, they're going to get the right part. So there won't be an error. So you have high quality. It could also be speed, because the customer can do it in real time. The order can digitally flow to manufacturer on the supply chain. And it's much more cost efficient, because you no longer have expensive technical workers, spending hours processing the order, finding the part, entering the order in the ERP system, calling and faxing to the supplier, all of those traditional, well, in German, you'd say Sachbearbeiter, but all the people that are traditionally involved in that process now can really, if you set up your digital right, all of that manual work can be eliminated, which means customer gets it in real time. So you have speed, it's accurate, so you have quality, and there's really no cost, because it's all the work is being done automated digitally. So I do think that's why it is so exciting, I think, for for manufacturers, because you can really win all three dimensions if you do digital right.
My last question. Where would you invest if you would run a manufacturing company today, in sales automation, sales collaboration, or online customer experience?
What were the first choices?
Sales automation, sales collaboration, more like collaboration platforms, maybe, or online customer experience, or is there a perfect mix of them?
Well, I would start with the online customer experience, and maybe it's the hardest, but I think, as we just described in the spare parts order, I think it has the greatest benefit, ultimately to the customer, because they can self-serve in real time 24/7. And I think for the manufacturer, it ultimately has the greatest benefit, because in terms of speed, cost, and quality, probably the hardest to do. But I think that's what I mentioned with Tesla, right? That's what Tesla did with car ordering. They just went all the way, where now if you go to Tesla website, right, you have an amazing online customer experience. It brings you closer to the brand. And frankly, then you don't even need sales, right? If the online end customer can just order. And that's why I think that's the most disruptive and the biggest potential.
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Godard, for your amazing insights. And have a great day.
Oh, thank you, Falk. You too.
This was our first Digital Sales Fireside. Make sure to sign up for our next episode and let us know in the following poll which topic you'd like to hear about next. In the name of InMind Cloud, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you very soon.